6 p.m. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Kanooz Ashraf. First, the headlines. Prime Minister has offered to connect CPEC with Shanghai Cooperation Organization's 6 approved routes to link the Eurasian landmass. Pakistan and Britain have agreed to strengthen cooperation to ensure lasting peace in Afghanistan and the region. The United States ambassador to Pakistan has reiterated his country's commitment to foster economic cooperation with Islamabad. The second phase of repatriation of temporarily displaced persons of North Waziristan Agency from Afghanistan began today. The chairman of All Parties Hurriyat Conference has appealed to the United Nations to take notice of the provocative statements of Indian leaders. The United Nations has called for an immediate ceasefire in Syria in order to deliver humanitarian aid to civilians. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi has offered to connect CPEC with Shanghai Cooperation Organization's 6 approved routes to link the Eurasian landmass. He was talking to Secretary General of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Rashid Alimov, in Islamabad today. The Prime Minister said that the connectivity will greatly enhance vitality to become a conduit for linking China, Russia, and Central Asia with the Arabian Sea. He also expressed support for various SCO's initiatives, including the establishment of SCO Development Bank, SCO Development Fund, SCO Business Council, SCO Interbank Consortium, and SCO's initiative on small and medium enterprises. While expressing support for the SCO regional anti-terrorism structure, Shahid Khaqan Abbasi reiterated Pakistan's strong opposition to the 3 evils of terrorism, extremism, and separatism. He reiterated Pakistan's commitment towards Shanghai's spirit of mutual trust, mutual benefit, equality, respect for cultural diversity, and pursuit of common development. The Secretary General appreciated Pakistan's active participation in all SCO activities. Pakistan and China have signed executive program of cultural agreement for further consolidating cultural relations and promoting people-to-people contacts between the two states. Minister of State for Information Mariam Aurangzeb and Chinese Minister of Culture Liu Shugang signed the agreement at a ceremony in Beijing today. Earlier at a meeting with the Chinese Minister of Culture, Mariam Aurangzeb said that the relations between the two strategic partners are deeper than oceans and higher than mountains. She expressed the confidence that CPEC will take the bilateral relations between the two countries to new heights. The Minister of State said that the economic cooperation, infrastructure development, energy projects, and the people-to-people exchanges will enhance contacts and share and promote the heritage of both the countries. Pakistan and Britain have agreed to strengthen cooperation to ensure lasting peace in Afghanistan and the region. This was agreed at a meeting between National Security Advisor Nasser Khan Janjua and the British envoy to Afghanistan and Pakistan, Gareth Bailey, in Islamabad today. The two sides also agreed that both Pakistan and Afghanistan should resume engagements at all levels, including government, diplomatic, military, intelligence, and people-to-people contact. Nasser Janjua said Afghan government can play a major role in bringing peace in Afghanistan. The British envoy appreciated Pakistan's efforts against terrorism and highlighted British government's role for a sustainable peace in Afghanistan. The United States ambassador to Pakistan, David Hale, has reiterated his country's commitment to foster economic cooperation with Pakistan. He expressed the resolve during his meeting with the American Business Council of Pakistan's President, Kamran Nashad, and the Council's Executive Committee in Islamabad today. The U.S. ambassador stressed that bilateral trade, which reached a record high of more than $6 billion last year, can be increased further through enhanced cooperation. Pak-US commercial and economic ties were also discussed during the meeting. Australian government-funded market development facility and 4G Foods have signed a partnership to establish 20 milk collection centers in rural Layya and Muzaffarabad. Australia's High Commissioner to Pakistan, Margaret Adamson, joined Managing Director of Fuji Foods, Javed Iqbal, at a signing ceremony in Bhalwal, Sargodha. Pakistan Railways has added over 1,400 modern wagons for upgradation of its cargo trains. An official of Ministry of Railways told media that Pakistan Railways is purchasing high-power locomotives for upgradation of cargo trains and system of transportation of coal from Kadrabad Power Plant. The second phase of repatriation of temporarily displaced persons of North Waziristan Agency from Afghanistan began today. Sources of political administration of North Waziristan Agency told Radio Pakistan Peshawar correspondent that over 4,000 families will return from Afghanistan in this phase. This is Radio Pakistan. China-Pakistan Economic Corridor project is an example of South-South cooperation for the achievement of shared economic and development objectives. This was stated by the Pakistan's permanent representative to the United Nations, Maliha Lodi, while addressing the 56th session of the Commission for Social Development in New York. She called for global cooperation to eradicate poverty and achieve social development for all. She also said that we can combat poverty through realistic and determined social and economic policies. The chairman of all parties Hurriyat Conference, Syed Ali Gilani, has appealed to the Secretary General of the United Nations to take notice of the provocative statements of Indian leaders. While reacting to the recent statement of Indian Home Minister Rajnath Singh, he said that the Indian leaders were following their bigoted dogma and were creating war euphoria in the region. He said New Delhi's narratives reflect negative and egoistic approach. Meanwhile, 2 policemen were killed in an attack on a police party in Srinagar today. The United Nations Security Council has rejected the U.S. statement condemning the use of chlorine gas in Syria, in which more than 20 civilians were injured, including children. U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley urged the Council to adopt a statement and strongly condemn the successive chlorine gas attacks against Syrian people. The Russian ambassador Vasily Nebenzia terming the U.S. statement as propaganda campaign against President Bashar al-Assad. The United Nations is calling for an immediate month-long ceasefire in Syria in order to deliver critical humanitarian aid and medical care to civilians trapped by fighting in regions across the country. In a statement, the UN mission in Syria warned of dire consequences to the compounded humanitarian crisis in the country. In Syria, at least 19 people were killed in air strikes today. The Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said 10 towns in the eastern Ghouta region outside Damascus were bombed today. The United Nations has expressed concern over heavy fighting between Myanmar's army and guerrillas of the Kachin Independence Army in Kachin State. According to reports, conflict between Myanmar's army and KIA in northern part of the country has escalated since 19th of last month. In South Korea, more than 1,200 security guards have been withdrawn from the Pyeongchang Winter Olympics due to norovirus outbreak. An official of the organizing committee told AFP these guards were replaced by some 900 military soldiers, and health authorities are investigating the origin of the virus. Norovirus is highly contagious and can also be spread through food or water contamination. And finally, the weather report. Mainly cold and dry weather is expected in most parts of the country during the next 24 hours. However, light rain with snowfall over the hills is expected at few places in Gilgit-Baltistan. To end the news, some of the headlines once again. Prime Minister has offered to connect CPEC with Shanghai Cooperation Organization's 6 approved routes to link the Eurasian landmass. Pakistan and Britain have agreed to strengthen cooperation to ensure lasting peace in Afghanistan and the region. The United States Ambassador to Pakistan has reiterated his country's commitment to foster economic cooperation with Islamabad. And that is the end of the news bulletin. For more news and analyses, log on to our website radio.gov.pk and also watch live video streaming of our bulletins on the link facebook.com Radio Pakistan News Official.